50 years ago, a single income, often from a non-specialized job, could comfortably support a family of four, pay off a mortgage in 15 years, and still leave room for a pension. Today, we have households where two professionals are both earning six figures, yet they're living paycheck to paycheck. They aren't poor by any statistical measure. They drive European SUVs, they live in desirable zip codes, and their children attend good schools. But if you were to look at their bank statement on the 29th of the month, the balance is often hovering near zero. They are trapped, not by a lack of money, but by the abundance of it. We've been sold the idea that two incomes are a safety net, a way to accelerate our path to freedom. But for the vast majority of households in the U.S. and Europe, the second income hasn't bought freedom. It has only bought a more expensive cage. Tonight, we're going to look at the math and the psychology of the two-income trap. We're going to explore why doubling your household revenue often results in having your financial security, and why the stable middle-class life is becoming the most precarious position you can inhabit. Let's look at a typical couple in a city like Denver, Munich, or Manchester. Let's call them Sarah and Mark. Sarah earns $70,000 a year as a marketing manager. Mark earns $65,000 in logistics. On paper, they're a powerhouse. Their gross household income is $135,000. In the eyes of their parents, they've made it. But let's look at the reality after the tax man takes his cut. In many parts of the U.S. or Europe, after income tax, Social Security, and health insurance, that $135,000 shrinks significantly. They are likely bringing home around $8,500 a month. At first, this feels like plenty. But the two-income trap begins with a subtle shift in expectations. Because they both work, they need two cars. Not just any cars, reliable ones. Because a breakdown means someone misses a high-stakes meeting. That's two car payments, two sets of insurance, and double the fuel. Because they both work 50 hours a week, they have no time. Time becomes their most expensive commodity. They pay for convenience. They order takeout 3 times a week because they're too exhausted to cook. They pay for a cleaning service. They pay a premium for a home located near their offices to shave 20 minutes off a grueling commute. And then there's the biggest predator of all, the mortgage. When single-income households were the norm, the housing market was priced based on what one person could afford. Today, in every desirable city, housing prices are bid up based on what two people can afford. Sarah and Mark didn't buy a house based on Mark's salary. They bought the biggest house the bank would allow based on both salaries combined. They aren't being reckless. They're just following the rules of the modern world. But by doing so, they have committed 100% of their combined energy to maintaining a baseline that requires both of them to never stop working. Let's break down the hidden flaw in this system. In a single-income household, there is a natural hedge against disaster. If the breadwinner loses their job, the household has a spare worker, the stay-at-home partner, who can enter the workforce. There's also a massive amount of untaxed labor happening at home, cooking, childcare, maintenance. That keeps expenses low. In the two-income household, Sarah and Mark have no spare worker. They are both already at 100% capacity. If Mark loses his job tomorrow, the household loses 50% of its income, but their expenses stay exactly the same. They can't sell one of the cars easily. They can't downsize the mortgage instantly. They still need the expensive childcare because Sarah is still working. The math of the two-income trap looks like this. Your income doubles, but your fixed, non-negotiable costs, rent, debt, insurance, often triple, because you're competing with other two-income couples for the same limited pool of houses and lifestyles. Suddenly, you aren't twice as safe. You are twice as vulnerable. Most people believe that risk is something that happens in the stock market. They worry about their retirement funds dropping 10%. But the real risk is sitting in their driveway and their driveway's mortgage. When you bake two incomes into your basic survival, you have no margin for error. You have created a life where success requires 40 years of perfect health, perfect employment, and a perfect economy for two people simultaneously. That isn't a financial plan. It's a high-wire act. Why do intelligent people do this? Why do we voluntarily walk into this trap? The answer lies in a psychological concept called lifestyle inflation. but specifically a version of it driven by relative deprivation. In the U.S. and Europe, we don't measure our success against our ancestors. We measure it against our peers. If Sarah and Mark moved into a small, one-bedroom apartment and drove 15-year-old Toyotas, they could live entirely on one salary and save the other. They would be wealthy within a decade, but they won't do that, because in their social circle, that looks like failure. We have been conditioned to believe that a higher income entitles us to a higher standard of living. We view our surplus money as something to be traded for comfort. The problem is that modern comfort is designed to be subscription-based. Your streaming services, your gym membership, your car lease, your smartphone plan, your premium childcare, these aren't one-time purchases. They are permanent drains on your future freedom. There is also the time-money trade-off. When you work more, you feel you deserve more. You buy the expensive coffee, the business class flight, or the luxury watch as a psychological reward for the stress of earning the money in the first place. It's a circular trap. You work hard to afford the things that help you forget how hard you work. The system is designed to keep you in this equilibrium. Banks don't want you to live on 50% of your income. They want you to leverage 90% of it. The economy functions best when Sarah and Mark are just slightly stressed, enough to keep working, but not so stressed that they stop spending. So, how do the truly smart earners navigate this? They don't reject the second income. They reject the lifestyle that the second income permits. The most resilient households in the West today are those that practice synthetic single-income living. They are couples who may earn $150,000 or 120,000 euros, but they consciously design a life that can be supported by the lower of the two salaries. This requires a radical level of honesty. It means buying a house that is too small for your income. It means driving the paid-off car long after neighbors have upgraded. It means realizing that status is a tax that you choose to pay, and the financially intelligent simply choose to stop paying it. When you live on one income and save the second, something miraculous happens to your psychology. The slightly uncomfortable feeling of the trap disappears. You stop fearing your boss because you have 3 years of living expenses in a high-yield account. You stop feeling the burnout of the 9 to 5 because you know you aren't working for a car payment. You're working for your own time. Financially intelligent people realize that real wealth isn't the ability to spend money. It's the ability to not have to think about money. By decoupling your survival from your total household output, you gain the one thing the middle-class trap denies you: leverage. You can take the career risk. You can start the business. You can walk away from the toxic work environment. Wealth is not found in the more. It is found in the margin. If you find yourself in a position where 2 incomes are coming in, but the needle isn't moving, realize that you aren't failing. You are simply following a script that was written by a system that benefits from your consumption, not your freedom. The 2-income trap is only a trap if you don't see the walls. Once you recognize that your second income is being swallowed by lifestyle choices rather than necessities, you have the power to change the math. It isn't about deprivation. It's about deciding what you value more: the appearance of success today or the reality of freedom tomorrow. The world will tell you that you need more, but usually the answer is just needing less of what doesn't matter. It's a quiet, slow process. It's not as exciting as a stock market tip or a get-rich-quick scheme, but it is the only guaranteed way to stop being a passenger in your own life. Think about your non-negotiable expenses this week. Ask yourself, if one income disappeared tomorrow, how long would it take for the walls to close in? The answer to that question is your real net worth. If you found this perspective helpful, consider subscribing. We'll be continuing this series on the psychology of wealth and the hidden mechanics of the modern economy. Until next time,